So here we are starting with Blackberry Pond on page 104. There was a pleasant humming sound in the small cabin. Hannah sat before her small flax wheel, her foot moving briskly on the treadle. "Sit down, child, while I finish this spindle-fill." She smiled as though Kit had merely stepped outside the door for a moment. Kit perched on a bench and watched the whirling wheel. "I came to tell you I made my peace with the schoolmaster," she said at last. "I couldn't come before because I've been teaching in the school again." Hannah nodded without surprise. "I thought thee would," she commented. "Does it go better with thee now?" "Yes, I suppose so. At least Mr. Kimberly should be satisfied. He says that children are evil by nature and they have to be held with a firm hand. But it's not much fun trying to keep my hand firm and being so solemn all day long. I feel sorry for those little boys." Hannah glanced over at Kit briefly. "So do I," she said dryly. "Did the schoolmaster make three promise never to smile?" Kit looked back at the faded eyes, sunk deep in wrinkles, and caught the twinkle there. Suddenly she laughed. "You're right," she admitted. "I haven't even dared to smile. I'm afraid if I let myself go an inch I'll do something disgraceful again. But Mercy smiles all day long, and still keeps order." She reached down and scooped up the sleeping cat from the floor, settling its limp weight into her lap and tickling the soft chin until a contented purr almost matched the hum of the spinning wheel. The late afternoon sun slanted through the open door and fell across Hannah's face, gnarled hands. As they moved swiftly and surely, peace flowed into Kit. She felt warm and happy. "How fast you go," she said, watching the thread fattening of the bobbin. "Did you grow the flax yourself?" Hannah dipped her finger into a gourd shell without slackening the wheel. "Some of the families in town always bring me flax to spin," she explained. "I make a nice neat thread, if I do say so. But every year it seems to get harder to see it. I have to tell you by the feel. It is smooth enough, does thee think?" Kit admired the fine, perfect thread and then slipped evenly through Hannah's fingers. "It's beautiful," she said. "Even Mercy can't spin it like that." Hannah looked pleased as a child. "4 pence a skein," she said. "Enough to pay the taxes and buy what I need." "Taxes on this small plant?" Kit was indignant. "Of course," Hannah said matter-of-factly. "And the fines for not going to the meeting." "They make you pay fines for that? Wouldn't it be better to go to the meeting instead?" Kit looked around at the much mended clothing, at the sparse furnishings in the little room. "I doubt they would welcome me," Hannah said, again dryly, "even if I chose to go. In Massachusetts we Quakers had our own meetings." "Can I become a Quaker?" asked Kit, only half joking. "I'd rather pay a fine any day than go to the meeting." Hannah chuckled. "Thee doesn't become a Quaker just to escape meetings," she said, and Kit flushed at the gentle reproof in her tone. "All right, this is getting out of hand. We're just going to keep going. How does one become a Quaker?" she asked seriously. "I wish I knew something about it, Hannah." The old woman was silent for a moment. Before she could answer, a shadow fell across the sunlight. A tall figure filled the doorway. Kit started, and for an instant she thought that Hannah actually had conjured up a vision. They, unbelievably, was Nathaniel Eaton, the captain's son, leaning easily against the doorpost with the well-remembered mocking smile in his blue eyes. "I might have known," he said, "that you two would find each other." Hannah's face crinkled up with pleasure. "I knew thee would come today," she triumphed. "I saw the Dolphin pass right island this morning. Kit, my dear, this is a seafaring friend I told thee about." Nat made a bow. "Mistress Tyler and I already are acquainted," he acknowledged. He tried to sit down, without anyone's noticing, the small barrel he had carried under one arm, but Kit's glance was quick. A keg of fine Barbados molasses, so it was not just coral trinkets and flower bulbs that this seafaring friend of Hannah's brought from afar. Hannah caught the action too. "Bless thee, Nat," she said quietly. "Now sit down and tell us where thee has been this time." "Charleston," he answered, settling on an upturned barrel. Instantly the cat slid from Kit's lap and with a loud roar leaped into Nat's and circled and contented. Nat winced as her claws dug rapturously into his coarse homespun trousers. Hannah made fast the thread and sat with idle hands, her eyes never leaving the young sailor's face. "And thy father? He is well and sends you his greeting." "I've been listening for a breeze every morning, just thinking thee might be coming up the river. I said to Thomas just yesterday, 'Tom,' I said, 'I'm going to save the last of these berries just in case Dolphin comes home soon. He'll be pleased when I tell him you've been here.'" Kit's breath caught suddenly in her throat. Hannah had spoken through her husband. So many years dead were still here in the house. Hannah had spoken as though her husband, so many years dead, was still in the house. A cloud had passed across the old woman's eyes, a vagueness that Kit had noticed there before. Kit turned a troubled look to Nat. He seemed not to have noticed anything amiss, but very casually had reached out his hand and covered Hannah's warm fingers with his own. "Has the old she-goat had her kids yet?" he asked easily. "Don't tell me you sold them before I could see them." The vagueness was gone as suddenly as it had come. "I had to, Nat," Hannah said regretfully. "They were getting into the cornfield. They brought a good price. 2 hanks of wool for a new cape." Nat leaned back now and surveyed Kit with frank interest. She had forgotten the intense blue of his eyes, like the sea itself. "Tell me," he asked her, "how did they ever let you find your way to Hannah?" Kit hesitated, and Hannah chuckled. "How did thee find a way here?" she demanded of him. "'Tis a strange thing that the only friends I have found in the same way, lying flat in the meadows, crying as though their hearts would break." The 2 young people stared at each other. "You?" breathed Kit incredulously. Nat laughed. "I'll have you know that I was only 8 years old," he explained. "Were you running away?" "I certainly was. We were on the way down the river, and my father had just told me he was leaving me at Saybrook to spend the winter with my grandmother and go to school. It seemed like the end of the world. I had never lived anywhere but the Dolphin, and it had never occurred to me that anyone but my father would teach me. I'd never in my life seen anything like the meadows." They went on, and all at once I was hungry and thoroughly lost and scared. Hannah found me and brought me here and washed the scratches on my legs. She even gave me a kitten to take back with me. A little gray tiger, Hannah remembered. That cat was our lucky piece for 6 years. Not one of the men would have weighed anchor without her. Kit was entranced. "I can just see you," she laughed. "Did Hannah give you blueberry cake, too?" "Right here at the table," nodded Hannah. "I'd forgotten how a little boy could eat." Nat reached again to cover her hand with his own. Hannah's magic cure for every ill, he teased. "Blueberry cake and a kitten." "Did you go back to school?" questioned Kit. "Yes, Hannah walked back to the ship with me, and somehow I felt bold as a lion. I didn't even mind the thrashing that was waiting for me." "I know," said Kit, remembering the walk up to Mr. Kimberly's door. "And now thee can both have supper with me again," said Hannah, delighted as a child at the prospect of a party. But Kit jumped to her feet with a guilty glance at the sun. "Oh dear," she exclaimed, "I didn't realize it was time for supper." Hannah smiled up at her. "God go with thee, child," she said softly. She did not need to say any more. They both knew that Kit would come back. Okay, that's page 109. Again, I didn't realize that there was so much reading in this book. I just wanted it to be like, I thought it would be funny, but anyway, page 109.